Over 23 different races and 22 different venues later, the fight for a championship sends 5 of the last warriors standing with only one race between themselves and the ultimate goal. 23 races, and yet we stand here. We're live from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. We welcome you to the conclusion of Season 5 for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and the championship finale. It is here where the stage is set and where one driver will be crowned the champion at the end of the night. We are so happy to have you with us one last time here on MaxSpeedTV. We're up in the broadcast booth from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. My name is Kenneth Bueno. And going into this race, of course, knowing the drivers that were going to be eligible for the Championship 5, multiple different stories. We'll be talking about them over the course of the evening as we get closer and closer to decide who will be hoisting the trophy in Season 5. But there is so much to talk about when it comes down to the race we had just 1 week ago at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. This was AJ Green, Kevin D'Elia leading the field to green, but we did not know what was going to come up next. A finish for the ages as they took the green flag. AJ Green, one of the most dominant drivers all night long. We had some chaos, though, in the opening round of the race. A lot of green flag runs to describe this race overall, and it took a while before we eventually got our first caution. This one involving 2 playoff drivers. One of them, Lawson Pio, our 6-time winner this year, and then the 5 of Mark Harris. I think Kyle Benson also had a piece. He had some trouble later on in the night, but it was the 5 of Mark Harris who had some front-end damage, both of them getting collected on the back straightaway. That brought out our first caution, and then on the restart off of that caution, around went Lance Hill on a restart, lining up the rear tires, getting it sideways. Jesse Freeze was also in it. I believe Joe Sanchez had been the 3rd car in that group, so a lot of chaos throughout the race. But then it ended up coming down to fuel strategy, who came out of pit road first, and this was your 2 leaders at the time, AJ Green, Craig Lautenslager coming in for service. Lautenslager will make a huge charge near the end of the race, and it was Jaden Porter alongside him. They both got by AJ Green, and coming to the final 5 laps of the race, this was the move to try and get to the inside to win the whole thing. Remember, Lautenslager had tried to lock himself in. He was a playoff driver. Jaden Porter, one of the rookie drivers, not running for the title. They went side by side for 5 laps on end, and then came the huge move going into turns 3 and 4. Lautenslager being able to go to the inside, gave the shove to Porter, shoved him up the track. That's lap car Cody Kinsey on the outside of that. He had a factor in this race, but it was this move right here that moved the Lautenslager down on the track, Porter up to the outside wall, and they went chasing to the grass, to the line in a photo finish, in where Lautenslager got his first win of the year, became the 13th different winner of the season, and locked himself in to this Championship 5. Of course, Lautenslager, one of the many we'll be talking about over the course of the night. We'll take a look first as to who is in this championship fight. Eric Schaefer has a multi-time win this season. He locked himself in via the win earlier in the campaign in the round at Darlington, getting around Colin Forster in the last corner of the last lap. Brandon Banks getting a stellar win at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway to lock himself in. It was Craig Lautenslager who got that win, like we saw at Charlotte just 1 week ago, to get himself to the very spot. And then the 2 drivers who we thought probably could have won their way in, but decided to point their way in instead on the circumstances. Lawson Pio had a healthy points gap throughout the entirety of the round of 10, kept his spot. AJ Green, the last one to enter that Championship 5 group. So a lot of different talents, a lot of different drivers, and a lot of different stories before we get into this championship finale live from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Texas, of course, is the first time we visit this track here in Season 5, and this track, very interesting. Our 3rd different 1.5-mile track to finish off the season after we had Atlanta last season, and then the season before that was at Charlotte. It's a 1.5-mile, 2.4-kilometer oval. The track opened in 1996. Of course, this is the newly renovated version of Texas Motor Speedway, so you've got different banking in turns 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. 20 degrees in turns 1 and 2. You'll have 24 degrees just like it was before in turns 3 and 4. This track, of course, with 1996 history, we had a lot of great races here from Texas, and with this new reconfiguration that happened back in 2017, it makes this track a little more unique comparative to the other 1.5 milers on the schedule. And so we'll be looking for a very interesting race for the championship, having Atlanta as rough of track that is on the tires and on the drivers, and then of course Charlotte Motor Speedway being one of the most prestigious ovals in all of the NASCAR calendar. Nice to have Texas Motor Speedway be our 3rd different entrant into a Championship 5 finale. So we are ready to head trackside and give you your starting grid and see exactly where every single driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway as we close off Season 5 and the final race here of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. AJ Green, championship contender, nabs pole with a 30.054. He will be the first to see the green. He's had a lot of great 1.5 mile and intermediate success, yet without a win though. He'll have his teammate Lance Hill, who unfortunately got eliminated 1 week ago. He'll be outside of row number 1. Colin Forster in the 99, another Stonks Motorsports teammate who also unfortunately did not make it through to this Championship 5. He'll be lining up the inside of row number 2. He'll have Kyle Benson to his outside in that 10 machine. Championship 5 competitor Lawson Peel will start inside top 5, and you'll have our most recent winner from Charlotte, the 13 of Craig Lounslugger, back into Toyota this time around, so good to see some more familiar colors on behalf of the 13 as he runs for his first championship. Joe Sanchez and Eric Schaefer line up your run number 4. Schaefer, of course, one of the lowest drivers on qualifying when it comes down to the Championship 5. It'll be Steven Stempian in the 3. I think the first time we see him all season long, so a nice entrant here. Rookie driver Christopher Bishop will be to his outside to round out your top 10. This is the final driver in your Championship 5 as it stands from qualifying. It'll be Brandon Banks in the 88. He will have Curtis Kelly to his outside in P12. Jesse Priest, Kevin DeLeo, the 00, and the 53 line up the drivers all the way back to 14th before you find league owner Tyler Murray inside top 15. He'll have Tony Kibbett to his outside in 16th. Cody Ivey, Jaden Porter 17th and 18th on the racetrack. We saw just how good Jaden Porter was 1 week ago at Charlotte. Hopefully we can see some of the same success from the rookie star driver. Michael Newbraw is 19th. CJ Munier is the last one in the top 20, and he is the first one not to take time. The 2 drivers that are supposed to make the grid but did not, Mark Harris and Jason Hastings, 21st and 22nd. So the field in the hands of the iRacing official pace car, and AJ Green will be the first to send us for 134 laps, just over 200 miles here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway and 321 kilometers as we get closer and closer to deciding a Season 5 champion. We're under the daylight here in Fort Worth, Texas. Track temp not as hot as it could be in the Texas summer, but 96 degrees is still rather crisp for these drivers out on the racetrack. 76 degrees in the air temp, a wind south at about 12 miles per hour. That could affect some of the handling wise, especially coming out of the corners. We've got a partly cloudy afternoon in Sim, so a beautiful day to go racing for a championship. Of course, you look at the non-playoff buffer between Green, your pole sitter, and Lawson Peel, Craig Lounslugger, who hold that row up in row number 3. And AJ Green has the force of his teammates of Stonks Motorsports. We saw them in a battle with Drinkin' Bros Racing for what it looked like all season long. And finally, the battle will come to a culminating close from the Wild West. Pace car makes its way down to pit road. It will be AJ Green and his teammate Lance Hill to lead us to the lap 1 green flag as we're underway in the Championship 5 finale of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. AJ Green to the line to lead lap number 1, but his teammate already in answer for him out of turn 4 to take the race lead away. Lance Hill, your new race leader, only after 1 lap of completion here from Texas. Colin Forster moving to the inside for that second spot. They're going to tussle there on the back straightaway. He'll have Kyle Benson on the backside of this. Joe Sanchez, Lawson Peel going at it for inside the top 5. As Lounslugger's already fallen back to 7th on that opening jump. And Lawson Peel will look to the inside of Joe Sanchez. He'll take 5th away. And AJ Green basically fending all by himself at the very top as the non-playoff drivers work by and already battle for the championship lead. AJ Green on the outside. Lawson Peel down low. We've talked about the dominance of Lawson Peel all season long. His 6 wins on the calendar, his most recent in the playoffs at Rockingham. But AJ Green, you cannot ignore the success that he's had at these types of tracks. You look at Darlington, how good he was there, leading a majority of the race before ending up in a scenario where he hit the inside wall on an overtime restart. You look back at Charlotte from 1 week ago. If he didn't have that hiccup with a lap car and didn't get caught on the long run by Lautenschlager and Jaden Porter, we could have been talking about AJ Green locking himself via a win instead of pointing his way into the Championship 5. And frankly enough, these are 2 of the drivers at the bottom end of the Championship 5 not locking themselves in, and they are going side by side for 4th. And that is the championship lead given to the 12 of Lawson Peel. Joe Sanchez now aiming for an attack on the 48 out of turn 4. And Steven Stempian in the 3 on the rear side of that conversation. And Craig Lautenschlager trying to hold on for as much as he can. There's Lance Hill, your new race leader, moving out of turn 2. And tonight we talk about so much the point standings, how the points affect the driver's fate, and what happens and who needs to do what in order to advance by the points margin. Tonight, that's all thrown out the window. It's about finishing ahead of the other 4 drivers, and you are the champion. AJ Green, of course, your defending champion from 1 season ago at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway in his very first season, along with Stocks Motorsports' 4-Wide Cup Series debut. And Green looking to do it all over again, and I believe if he wins tonight, the championship, then he will be the first driver to go 2 in a row in championships in the Cup Series. But right now, looking a little bit bleak as the buffer between himself and Lawson Peel, your championship leader, will indeed grow. The Lego machine, Joe Sanchez, weaves by on a turn 4. That's for 5th. So Sanchez makes the move. Everybody mostly single file. Now here comes Craig Lautenschlager inside. On Steven Stempian in the 3, one of our newer drivers in the season. Not only tonight here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, but he's done well in practice and so far holding his own. But an outside line here in 3 and 4 definitely won't help. And if there's one thing here to know about this Texas Motor Speedway and running with these cars, is the fact that you really have to keep it tucked to that inside lane. There is no multi-group racing here at the real Texas Motor Speedway or in the virtual side of it. After being reconfigured in 2017, you do have to slow down dramatically, though, for the first 2 corners on a long run. You see some shifting action there on behalf of the 38, your race leader, up by 0.3 of a second to his teammate Colin Forster. You do have to slow down a little more in 1 and 2 just because there's less banking. That corner a lot tighter there than it looks. And then you go into 3 and 4, the 24 degrees of banking, especially with that repaved surface after 2017. It still has a myriad of grip, and so you can almost about go full throttle there. These cars have low downforce, the 670 horsepower engines beneath the hood, so you can't necessarily go full throttle, but you can almost about do just that. Here comes Lautenschlager with a nice move out of turn 2, peek to the inside of your second place driver in the championship standings as it goes. AJ Green, who started on pole, but the 13 not able to do it, so he will stick behind and wait another moment. And so AJ Green now, I think, will try to build a run on Joe Sanchez and will bring him closer to Lawson Peel if he can make it complete. But everybody using that inside line, taking everyone's line away. And AJ Green, I think that's a mistake there that he wants to forget. A hit to the apron there will lose him some time on the 55, and the 13 will try to fend down low but can't do it. So he will stay single file now side by side for P6. Rather, P8. And Steven Stempian underneath Kevin D'Elia in the 53. Eric Schaefer, who was one of the drivers who started deep in the field on behalf of the Championship 5. The 3rd car in this entire battle as you ride on board here. And with the number 22, the orange and blue banner cars, that's how you know these drivers are running for the championship. They've got the banners and the splitters on their race cars. Eric Schaefer will try to mount a move here on Kevin D'Elia. D'Elia not going to give him the space nor the momentum to make that pass. He'll drift up the track. And indeed, that'll open the door here for Schaefer. So Schaefer not having to do much work there to take away P9. Brandon Banks, we talked about him qualifying the lowest out of the Championship 5 after getting his win at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway a couple of weeks back to get him to this very spot. The 2nd time in a row in 2 seasons that Banks ends up in the Championship 5. We saw him run for the title last season at Atlanta. Could not get the job done. And he's looking to finally capitalize this time as he aims to make a move underneath Kevin D'Elia. D'Elia will give him the space in 3 and 4. Not quite to the inside. Now he's there. And so Banks will make this proverbial pass for the entrance into the top 10. He'll try to catch his Drinkin' Bros Racing teammate in the 22 of Eric Schaefer. They're all going awry for the championship 5 in the top 5. Lounslugger under fire from Stempian. That's Eric Schaefer, Colin Forster in that battle as well, AJ Green. And the front end of this, this is the closest battle we've seen so far in the opening 13 laps, and this is good news if you're Eric Schaefer, just puncturing more holes in the field so you can continue to gain spots and only close in that buffer between yourself and the 13 of Lounslugger right on board with the 22. Just to listen to what these drivers have to do accelerator-wise moving around this Texas Motor Speedway, as there is a battle for your race lead. Kyle Benson has stepped out, and now here comes Lawson Peel working to the inside for first. Lance Hill had fallen out of the battle. Him and Colin Forster basically losing all their ground after the 15 laps. And so Lawson Peel not only looking for the championship lead, but looking for P1, and he does just that. AJ Green under his teammate now for fourth. Remember, it's all about track position here in the Championship 5 race in this playoff format. You just have to be ahead of the other 4 to be a champion at the end of the night. And it is not good for these other guys, knowing that Lawson Peel now has the cleanest air out of anyone in the field and has the most momentum going to his side. We've seen Lawson Peel straight up dominate races from start to finish. We've seen him be so good on these long runs. Even at Charlotte, before his incident, hitting the outside wall and grabbing some toe leg damage and being a lap down for a majority of the event, he held a significant amount of pace once we stepped into lap 15, lap 20, lap 25. It was only just a matter of time before a mistake happened on behalf of the 12. But tonight, trying to be mistake-free as he opens up to 0.2 of a second on Kyle Benson. You know, and also you think back to the dynamic between the non-playoff drivers and the guys running for the title. We've had it happen not only here tonight in fruition over the first 18 laps, but we've also had it throughout most of the playoffs, where you see those non-playoff guys kind of hang in, let those playoff drivers by, and not interfere significantly. I remember talking with Jaden Porter just last week after his second place finish at Charlotte, and he talked about not trying to be heavily involved in the championship battle. But more often than not, we usually see the results of that happen, where the non-playoff drivers just kind of hang back, and the championship drivers, even if they're not outright the fastest on track, they always hold the first handful of positions. Obviously, right now, still the opening run of the race, 19 laps in, so you're not necessarily going to have that show out in full force, but we have seen it so many times where to be a champion, you're most likely going to have to win the race, just because all the other guys are tucked in alongside you, second, third, fourth, and fifth. But at the moment, Kyle Benson, Joe Sanchez, the 2 drivers not running for the title, running for wins tonight. Into second and third, AJ Green slowly catching up on this group, so we'll see if a move happens. Steven Stempian is the middle ground between Green and Lounslugger right now, as Lounslugger currently sits P6, and maybe a championship turnaround. Eric Schaefer to the outside in 1 and 2. Solid build of momentum there. First time we've seen the middle used here at Texas. He's going to try to force the 13 down onto the white line, and a solid move for the 22. Eric Schaefer slides in a 6. He'll wash up the racetrack, though, and allow the 13 to make an answer at a turn 4. And indeed, the 13 will, so Lounslugger holding on for P6. Right on board with the rear-facing camera of the Toyota Camry after running a Chevy just 1 week ago. A very odd call, but just channeled the Dale Earnhardt Sr. Intimidator energy, like he said on our interview in Victory Lane. This time with some American Airlines colors on his Toyota, as he will clear Eric Schaefer and hold him at bay for at least another lap or so. With the whole field single file. Nice move up to the field for Jaden Porter in the 28 car. He's now moved up to 8th after starting a little bit further back in the field. That is, though, has been a anchor free fall for the 38 of Lance Hill, who's stuck on the top. There's Curtis Kelly on the inside. Jesse Preece, Brandon Banks making the move by that 38 after starting second. Lance Hill down outside of the top 10. As a look back at your leader, Lawson Peel now opening up to 1.2 seconds and basically the fastest on the racetrack right now. Lap set at 31.886. And nobody breaking the 31-second bracket in your top 5. 32.1 for Kyle Benson, 32.1 also for Joe Sanchez, 32 flat for AJ Green, so there could be a battle there before things are said and done. Steven Stempian with a 32 flat, same deal for the 13. So it is all just a game of Lawson Peel at the moment as of 23 laps from Texas. And here's AJ Green now looking on Joe Sanchez, going to try to build him out into turn 1. Not going to be able to do so just yet. We'll hang behind as they go side by side. Finally, Eric Schaefer does make that move for 6. So Lounslugger having to finally relinquish that spot. And Jaden Porter may be in it. Remember their battle 1 week ago. Kind of a similar situation here. Porter now looking to the inside. Lounslugger going to assess the block. And that's only going to make things worse for the 13. He's not the last driver right now in this championship 5. That goes to 9th place Brandon Banks, who has yet to make any significant progress since the drop of the green. But Lounslugger does not want to be on the tail end of this. As your quartet make that 5 cars under a blanket right now, with AJ Green trying to hunt down on Joe Sanchez out of turn 2. Huge pivotal dive there for 4th. That's Steven Stempian to the inside of AJ Green. So again, another open door for the 22 of Eric Schaefer. He'll give the bump to the 3, assist them. They almost make contact with the 48 there. But in a turn 1, AJ Green going to try and hold his ground. But Eric Schaefer looking to the inside for 2nd in the championship if he can get by with the 3. And again, just the importance of these picks. Remember last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway how important Cody Kinsey was potentially to that battle for the race win. And right now, guys like Steven Stempian, Sanchez, Kyle Benson, although they're not running for the title, they're making it as hard as possible for these guys to get back in the game. Schaefer will not elect to make a move. He'll go high with Stempian in a turn 1. And AJ Green having to play some defense. Schaefer looking for the arc out of turn 2 as Green gets the inside line still on that 3. And it's only tougher here. Stempian going to cross over, go inside Joe Sanchez. That's entrant into the top 3 if he can make it happen. Stempian to the inside. AJ Green trying to be the 3rd party in it. Schaefer almost struck the outside wall. He will block Lounslugger going into the grass on the quad oval in turn 1. And now add in the 28, Jaden Porter, who's looking up high in 1 and 2. Going to try to make something happen this time through as AJ Green still on the bottom with that 55, Joe Sanchez. And this will be a move for 4th. And it'll close the gap between himself and Lawson Peel, but Lawson up to 1.8 seconds on 2nd place Kyle Benson. There's the 12 crossing the start-finish line into turn 1. And AJ Green slowly but surely aiming to make his way there as now Schaefer under fire from the rookie driver Jaden Porter, who over the first 29 has not been afraid to rummage through the championship fight. A little loose there out of turn 2. And he'll stick behind the 22. Not a move there he can make. So he'll stay behind. Schaefer will look up high in 3 and 4. So Porter continuing to work his way up to the field. And how about Brandon Banks finally getting to the 13 of Lounslugger? This is for the last spot in the championship 5 right now. And Banks not enough momentum to make that move happen in 3 and 4. So he will stay behind in 1 and 2. Right on board with 3rd place Steven Stempian. A solid move through the field, a solid run so far. I mentioned he was quick in practice. Stempian, a new driver here. Frankly, I don't believe we've seen him over the entirety of Season 5. But nice to have Steven Stempian make his first start in one of the most important races of the entire season, if not the most important race of the entire season. Stempian in that Chevrolet, sponsored Chevrolet Camaro. Now running in the 3rd and trying to hunt down Kyle Benson that last time by. Even with a 32 flat on the 2nd place car, and even your race leader, a 32.043 for Lawson Peel. So things starting to even out just a little bit. Now, remember, Jaden Porter's move up to the field. He's also trying to follow suit. So he'll look underneath the 55 of Sanchez as the pass attempted for 5th on the racetrack. And Schaefer looking back at this, hoping that that inside line can prevail. But there's one thing that I'm noticing here, especially as you ride on board here with Jaden Porter. A lot of guys downshifting in the middle of the corner. We've talked about that in these next-gen cars, the sequential shifter, and how it may force drivers to shift in the middle of corners if the RPMs are too low. And we're seeing that tonight. Not necessarily in 3 and 4 here from Texas because the momentum is so high, but in 1 and 2 where you have to slow down, where you have to hop on the brakes, we're seeing many drivers in the field go for that 4th gear and grab the better acceleration out of the corners. It's helped some of these guys fend well on the long run. And we're seeing Eric Schaefer do that, Jaden Porter in that group, Joe Sanchez, Kyle Benson. A majority of the drivers in your top 5, top 10 have all been trying to shift their race cars down to 4th as they go side by side for dead last in the championship. Brandon Banks up top on the 13 of Lautenschlager. Of course, 3 drivers in this championship 5 locked their way in via wins. These 2 being included. Same deal for Eric Schaefer, who now looks to the inside of Joe Sanchez. All these guys having their different stories. Schaefer with his multiple wins on the calendar after getting his first one of the season at the 2.5-mile tricky triangle over at Pocono, doing it all over again in a almost photo finish at Indianapolis, then finally getting the short track win off of his back by getting the win at Bristol, and then came the pivotal Darlington last lap, last corner pass on Colin Forster to enter into the championship 5. Of course, last season, Schaefer wasn't a part of this group, so it's been a while since we've seen this Reaper Sim Lab, or Reaper Speed Shop number 22, be in contention for the championship. But nonetheless, Eric Schaefer working as hard as he can, and it is definitely going to help here against AJ Green, as Green has fallen off a 32.165 for the 48. A slower lap for the 22, but the draft definitely is going to help. And over the first 35 laps, we've been green flag racing, which tells me at this point we may have our first attempt at green flag pit stop. Saw a lot of that at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You ride on board with 2nd place Kyle Benson in a 1 and 2. And now I've got a question out of the championship 5. Which driver will look to come home first for their first stop of green flag service? We've seen the overcuts and the undercuts work in many different ways across the calendar. Charlotte looked like the overcut seemed to work very well, especially if you can hold on to your tires, in which the case of Jaden Porter and Craig Lautenschlager did so well at. That's why they were so quick around lap 35, lap 40. They were able to conserve their rubber much more than the drivers up in front of them. So no takers at the moment. At a 3 and 4, there's a look at how things are looking around the latter half of the top 10. Joe Sanchez, despite the strong start, I think now the cliff is starting to arrive as of lap 37. Lautenschlager works to the inside of former playoff driver Jesse Prees, and Sanchez has moved down to 8th on the racetrack. Remember that recent pass made by the 88 of Brandon T. Banks. So it is all Lawson Peel at the head of the field, 2.5 seconds and growing between himself and the rest of the field. There's a look at the difference. On the back straightaway, Lawson Peel is entering turn 3, and just coming out of turn 2 are your top 3, and Kyle Benson and Steven Stepien in the 3 car. And then you move almost about a second back. That's where you'll find the fight for 2nd in the championship, AJ Green and the 22 of Eric Schaefer. So, of course, back at Atlanta Motor Speedway for AJ Green, it was just an unbelievable moment. As I mentioned, the first season of Stonks Motorsports in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, the first season for AJ Green in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, along with his teammates that also did make the championship finale. You talk about Colin Forster, who got eliminated after the last round, as here comes Schaefer to the outside, and Adam Aleshire, who was supposed to make the playoffs this season, but forfeited his spot due to not being able to make most of the races. So it was unfortunate that they could not add another Stonks Motorsports driver to their group. And I figure the change there in the playoffs definitely helped the likes of Drinkin' Bros Racing. These guys, Eric Schaefer, Brandon Banks, all to instill themselves in the Championship 5. Not that they didn't have any skill, but also the fact that they had less Stonks Motorsports Championship competition, with Aleshire and Austin Reedy being out of the playoffs, and it forced Tyler Murray and Cody Kinsey into the fight for Season 5. As they are still side-by-side for 4th and 2nd in the championship. Schaefer looking up high. Green washes up the track, so Schaefer will have the moment of success, but AJ Green will fight back at a turn 4, so still even for P4 on the racetrack. When you think about the amount of time they're losing, though, to the likes of Steven Stepien and Kyle Benson. Almost contact again as Green washes up the track. Sort of a shades of Nashville Super Speedway, where Green and Sanchez had been going at it lap after lap after lap, and Green had forced his way up the track. But finally, Eric Schaefer makes that move. He will clear, and so he will cement himself in a fourth, and now Jaden Porter will look for the inside of the top 5. Jaden Porter, one of the best drivers we've seen rookie-wise coming into the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and a similar story to Lawson Peel, going into the season so late, not eligible for the playoffs whatsoever, but came out of the gate swinging with outstanding pace. Porter getting his first win of the year at Nashville Super Speedway as Brandon Banks dived to the inside, almost a look there on the 48 of AJ Green for third in the championship. But Jaden Porter looking to capitalize off what was the almost win at Charlotte, and looking to have a successful season 6 if he can make it. A lot of pace behind this 28 as he catches up to the 22 up in front. And Brandon Banks, a mistake out of the 48 out of turn 4, brings the 88 to P6. And AJ Green all of a sudden to dead last in the championship now in a fight with Craig Lounslugger for 9th. So all single file throughout the top 10, and then a huge gap, almost 4 seconds to 11th place car Curtis Kelly. There he is, Tony Kibbett in the 76 behind. Curtis Kelly at once a playoff driver this season, and a lot of consistency behind the Chiquita Banana Chevy Camaro. We've seen a lot of great performances out of him in season 5. Christopher Bishop running 13th. 14th will go to CJ Monier in the 89. Colin Forster, we've seen him drop through the field significantly. I figure he may be one of the first drivers to look down pit road if we get to that point. As he lines up the top 15, but Kevin D'Elia on the rear side of that slams into the outside and inside wall. He will limp it on the apron in turn 3 on the back straightaway. And no caution will wave. That's underneath the racing line. So Kevin D'Elia with some huge problems early. And Eric Schaefer under fire from the rookie driver. How about almost 3 wide for position in a turn 3? How about the run from Brandon Banks in the 88 after starting dead last out of the championship 5, now into 4th and into 2nd into the championship group. And a caution comes out for the first time tonight. We saw Kevin D'Elia into the inside wall. And it seems like the caution might have been thrown for that very same car, as the 53 brings it on a pit road. There's the rest of the field going by. Lance Hill had dropped all the way to P18. So Forster and Hill's run backwards through the field will fortunately come to an end. But it looks to be Kevin D'Elia in trouble to bring us our first caution of the race from Texas. Watch exactly how it all happened, and it just looked like a stall on the apron. Race control decided that was enough. There are your leaders going by. That was Kyle Benson, Steven Stepien. And then D'Elia, who was just trying to limp it to pit road, hopped on the brakes and went to a complete stop. That's a very dangerous part of the track, especially exiting turn 4, knowing the circumstances. So D'Elia ends up towing it to the lane. And the lead for Lawson Peel has evaporated to 0. And we should see the field come down to the pit lane for the first time tonight as of lap 47. We were going to see some green flag pit stops, no doubt about it, if we had stayed where we were before that yellow involving the 53. So maybe the saving grace for the likes of Benson, Stepien, and all those guys who had fallen so far behind the 12. And so the pace car will stay out on track. Here comes the 12 on a pit road. He will bring everybody with him. And for the first time tonight from Texas, we have pit stops under yellow. Of course, AJ Green being gifted that first pit stall after starting on pole. There's Lawson Peel going on a pit road. And the entire field looking for some 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and some fuel to make it all the way to the end. Of course, this stop won't seal you good till the end of the race. We should have some more stops by the time this race is over. But of course, this may be a pivotal stop for track position. Out first goes Peel, second goes Benson, third Stepien, Brandon Banks, Jaden Porter, and Eric Schaefer through your top 6. So no huge changes throughout the field. I think the biggest loser might have been AJ Green there, who I believe falls just outside of the top 10 after losing the race, with Curtis Kelly on a pit road. So for Stonks Motorsports, the start of the race has not looked good for the ones who started up near the first 5 positions on the racetrack. Lawson Peel, your race leader, out of pit road. We are on the cusp of our first restart here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. You're watching coverage of the final race in Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series right here on MaxSpeedTV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway as we continue the Championship 5 finale for Season 5, or Season 4 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Just a reminder before we go green that our coverage tonight is brought to you by 213 Simwear. 213 Simwear offers fun novelty sim racing apparel with a variety of styles, sizes, and more for you to enjoy and rep sim racing on and off the track. To learn more and shop today, you can go to 213simwear.com. So here's a look at your field as we're ready to get a restart on lap 51 of 134. Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson, Steven Stempian, Brandon Banks, Jaden Porter, your top 5. Pretty much no changes out of pit road for the first time after Kevin D'Elia brought out our first caution a couple laps ago. And after roughly 47 laps of green flag racing, we finally have a break in the action. And it's all on Lawson Peel to bring us back to the green. And we'll see if he can hold on to the lead at one point, about 3 seconds over the likes of Kyle Benson and company. It's been a dominating second half of the run for that 12 car, who's looking to get his 7th win of the year and his first ever 4-Wide Racing Cup Series championship. Pace car makes its way to the entrance of pit road. It'll be lap 51 to the green. Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson into the Geico restart zone, and a solid jump by Peel will clear him ahead. Steven Stempian looking to the inside of P2 for turn 1. So again, another solid restart. Stempian, though, right on the heels of taking the race lead away. Had a good run out of turn 2. Lawson Peel will hold on for now. Most of the field single file. There's Jaden Porter, who lodged himself into 4th. Brandon Banks was officially taken 2nd into the championship. Has done a nice job in track position on that first run as he right on board with the 88, and a nice potential move on Porter, who will back out into the middle of the corner. The entire field single file first run for side-by-side action here. Lance Hill, Tony Kimmett. This is around P14 on the track. Of course, Lance Hill, AJ Green, Colin Forrester, the Stonks Motorsports trio trying to get back into this race. AJ Green the lowest he's ever been tonight. And finally now on the verge of potentially taking 4th away in the championship. That's Craig Lautenschlager right in front of him. That bright chrome, red, white, and blue Toyota Camry. Right behind Jesse Priest, not a playoff driver in tonight's field. And now here comes Lautenschlager to the inside. A nice charge out of turn 2 may give him the spot, and it may bring AJ Green with him. 2 for 1. Priest going to hold on out of 3 and 4. Now Lautenschlager builds up the run. We've seen a lot of guys wiggle there on the exit of 4. Not necessarily in the middle of the corner, but again, I mentioned here in Texas, especially with the new configuration and the amount of grip that this track has naturally after 2017, when they repaved and reconfigured the racetrack. You have so much grip there. You have so much throttle input. We've seen a lot of guys get loose. The downforce kind of runs away there in the middle of the corner. And then 3 and 4, especially exit of 4, is where we see the effect of the looseness. And it's affecting Jesse Priest right now. Another wiggle out of that 0-0, the Chevy Camaro up top. And it's going to allow Lautenschlager to clear for position. That is a pass for 8th. And now here comes AJ Green. That'll be for 9th into turn 1, so no problems there for the Beef Machine as he makes that pass complete. And again, just trying to get back up to the front of the field where he started this race on pole. And just looking for the rebound. Now Lautenschlager may look underneath Joe Sanchez, who's providing no fight right now into turn 3 and 4. And he'll stay single file, and AJ Green will hold company. As a matter of fact, we have a challenge, in fact, a change for the race lead. Steven Stepien, who was right on the rear bumper of the 12. Finally, they made that pass, and not a huge deal for Peel, considering he's still leading the championship fight out of the rest of the group behind him. Despite Stepien not being able to take the lead in the opening run of the race, the driver who's making his first start in the season now up to P1. And we've mentioned countless times the new drivers forcing their way into the series and basically being some of the best out on track. I already talked about Jaden Porter's success on the season, despite only making a handful of starts and making his first one at Watkins Glen earlier on in the campaign before our playoff started. And Steven Stepien already showing out, impressing the field and gaining their respect in the 3 and 4 as he will hold on to the lead. We almost saw a potential fight there for second. In fact, there may be one out of turn 4 as Peel caught the apron there on the white line, and Kyle Benson will move to the inside for second. Kyle Benson makes that pass complete, now side by side into the championship 5. That's Eric Schaefer on the front of that. Brandon Banks ahead of him. Then the 13 and the 48. We talked about the 55 being in the middle of this entire scuffle. There's the 71 on the rear side of the screen. As Jaden Porter loses a huge amount of ground. Might have been a tap to the outside wall. There goes the rest of the field by. Porter having to play some defense, but can't do much in that third lane. And AJ Green still to the inside of Sanchez for 7th. Haven't talked too much about smacking the outside wall and that right front breaking down. I mentioned getting loose in 3 and 4, but you could also get severely understeery if you push up that track. Colin Forster trying to rebound along with his teammate as he goes to the outside of Curtis Kelly. That's a pass for 9th on the racetrack. But Jaden Porter with some problems that forces him all the way back to 11th on the racetrack. They are still side by side with Joe Sanchez, but Sanchez getting some good ground at the top side of 1 and 2. There may be some more rubber there, and that might be exactly what's helping them, as here's Green. And Sanchez now looking out to Eric Schaefer. Cannot make the pass complete. Maybe a crossover attempt. The answer will be no. So Schaefer will hold on to it. And now here comes Lautenschlager. A huge move getting blocked all the way to the grass. The 13 will go, but it will have the space in a turn 1. A huge, almost catastrophic moment. If he got sent down there and got spun on the racetrack, Lautenschlager will try again in 3 and 4. Sanchez still trying to play some huge defense. And it almost cost both of them a chance at a race win. And for Lautenschlager, a chance at a championship. But we will stay green and they'll stay single file. We've had moments in the championship 5 before where the drivers running for the title either get too eager or get caught up in a wreck. And it almost happened there again. Right on board here with Brandon Banks, holding on to 4th. This is 2nd in the championship as Kyle Benson has weaved his way by for P2. Banks, despite starting the worst out of the 5 going into tonight, has had the best pace, it seems like, other than Lawson Peel, as he holds on for 4th right now, not aiming to make any moves. And we're going to watch the battle again for P6 on the track. Launslarger still not making the charge yet on the 55. And this allows AJ Green to mount a run here. Maybe a pass to the inside. Attempts. Answer is no. So he will stay there. And again, just the nature of the beast, just like it was in that opening run. Everybody looking to hold the inside. That time, Sanchez loose, so Launslarger finds an open door. And this time, Sanchez won't block, so a better introduction to the inside for the 13. As he will try to complete the pass for 6, but can't do it out of turn 2. It's been so tough now to make passes on the inside unless they get loose on the top of the racetrack or they just have a huge mistake like we saw Jaden Porter do. Although Porter has done a nice job to recuperate back to the top 10. It's been so tough, especially with Sanchez. He's been able to get the acceleration out of the second corner, most notably the slowest part of this Texas Motor Speedway. And it's been so tough there. AJ Green also in the same vein, just cannot make a move despite getting checked up every single lap of that 13, aiming to make a pass on the 55. And again, I mentioned that dynamic, non-playoff drivers, they're forcing their way through the battle. And that 55 is Sanchez. He's got some teammates here tonight. He knows his purpose here is potentially he could go for the win, but also he could influence that battle for the championship. As now here comes Lawson Peel, a nice run out of 4 into the quadruple start finish line, and to the inside he goes for 2nd on the racetrack. Of course, when it comes down to a majority of the top 10, all of them with at least 1 win or more. Lawson Peel with the most at 6. But he hasn't gotten a win since Rockingham. Kyle Benson, the winner at Kansas. That's what got him into the playoffs to begin with. And the round of 15, Brandon Banks, the win at Talladega. Eric Schaefer, his multiple wins before his most recent at Talladega. Joe Sanchez, a winner so far in season number 4. But just was not eligible for the playoffs due to a lack of starts, as Sanchez had picked up the win earlier at the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So a majority of these drivers with at least 1 win on their tally. I think the first driver this season without a win in this top 10 is at 71 of Curtis Kelly, racking up the last spot in that group. Same deal for Jesse Prees without a win. So a lot of guys, and also Steven Stepien, of course, in his first start without a win in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series as of lap 68. Still single file throughout most of the field, and it's been all this 3-car after the restart. It's been a solid run at the moment, and he's been able to hold off the 10 and the 12. We'll see if Peel now has an answer for the 3 after getting passed on the restart. But at the moment, that 3-car with some of the best pace we've seen all night long, as he right on board with that 3 in the Chevrolet Camaro. That last time by at 31.442. A little faster went Lawson Peel at a 31.408. But Stepien definitely impressing the entire field here from Texas. So he will hold on to first. Lawson Peel will see if he can track that number 3 down for the race lead, although that 12 is still in the championship favorable spot. Remember, it's all about track position ahead of the other 4, not about track position on the track. And usually, we've seen a lot of the Championship 5 drivers be up at the front for the race win. We may see that before this is all over, as Launslarger will again try underneath the 55 for 6. But at this point in time, the non-playoff drivers have played such a huge factor in the race up until this point. And so Lawson Peel doesn't really have to worry about winning this race whatsoever. He can just hold on into P2, although I know definitely he would want P1 and his 7th race win of the year to cap off a championship journey, as he will go to the inside of Steven Stepien, and new race leader back to the point goes the 12 of Lawson Peel. So Peel again proving why he's one of the best here, as Benson hits the outside wall to turn 4. So Banks and Schaefer, the 2 Drinking Bros Racing teammates, will go to the inside. Still even between the battle for P6. Lounslugger underneath Joe Sanchez, and he has still not been able to officially clear that 55. As an update for AJ Green, starting to fall off once again. Those Stocks Motorsports cars not necessarily the fastest here on the long run, as Jesse Prees will look to the outside in 3 and 4. He lost a spot previously there, 8th place, to Jaden Porter in the 28 machine. And so things are not looking good for your pole sitter tonight, as Schaefer will complete the pass ahead of Kyle Benson. Branks has moved into 3rd, so getting him closer and closer to your race leader and championship leader as it stands in the 12 appeal. As Lounslugger sends a huge block on the back straightaway. That's ahead of Joe Sanchez, the first time he's cleared the 55 after making those attempts over and over and over again. Finally, it comes to fruition, and it almost got taken away from him there. They've been so aggressive for the latter half of the top 10. Here's Benson trying to look under Eric Schaefer to gain his spots back after slapping the outside wall out of turn 4. Not able to do so just yet. Kyle Benson, some troubles in the past couple of weeks, and obviously eliminated from the championship in the opening round of the series. Or opening round of the playoffs in the series. And Benson just looking to have a season end on a high note, as Joe Sanchez will go to the outside once again on the 13, but to no avail. This time, Jaden Porter to the inside for 7th out of turn 2. There's been so much talk about Jaden Porter, Kyle Benson, 2 drivers on 2 different routes, really. Benson, a veteran in the series. Jaden Porter will be looking to make his first full-time 4-wide Cup Series season attempt if we see him back. They're both certainly putting up strong top 10 performances right now, as Steven Stepien is caught right back to the rear bumper of the 12, Lawson Peel. And it has not looked good for that 12. This 3 continues to put it on and has been relentless so far. Not been able to make that pass, and I think out of turn 4 just lost a bit of that momentum. The bubble going to open up once again, and that may invite the 88 of Brandon T. Banks. And if you're Lawson Peel, the last thing you want to do is go side by side. Again, you know that you're in the championship lead, and even if Steven Stepien, who's not running for the title, not running for anything other than the race win tonight, goes by you, you still have the championship spot, at least when it comes down to getting the title if the checkered flag were to wave. And you do not want to go side by side at a track that has now facilitated that first and second groove in the middle. Obviously in fruition there in real time, where we saw the 13 and the 55 go side by side for multiple laps on end. AJ Green having that same problem on the bottom. Now, because it's so hard to make passes on the track and it goes side by side multiple times on end, you need to look at the bigger picture for that 12 appeal. Right now, it's not a concern as Stepien works the high side in 3 and 4. And as the gap has grown to about 0.2 of a second, we need to also keep that in mind. Craig Lounslugger forced his way by Sanchez and now makes his way by Kyle Benson in the 12. So a lot of pace showing up out of nowhere on behalf of the 13. And here comes Lounslugger. This is an attempted pass for 2nd in the championship on Eric Schaefer. Lounslugger picking up the pace in this 2nd run. We didn't see much of that in the first run here from Texas over the first 47 or so laps, but as of lap 79, now pushing 31 laps into a stint, they're going to make contact coming out of turn 4 once and twice. Still losing time to Banks, though. Hip check once and twice again into turn 1. It has only gone more aggressive. Schaefer on behalf of the Drinkin' Bros Racing Camp, the 13 for Southern Heat Racing, and guess who's in the mix? Kyle Benson and Jaden Porter, the 2 Chevys in the background. Well, Lounslugger has not been able to catch a break. The first end contact with Sanchez, sending him into the grass in the quad oval, and then getting not only 1, not only 2, but about 4 hits from Schaefer on the front straightaway. It sends him back to 6, and Jaden Porter punches his way through the battle, and a pass attempt here for P4. Onboard look here with the rookie, Jaden Porter, as he goes into 3 and 4 and gives a shot to Schaefer. That'll send him up the track. Up goes the 22. Inside goes the 13. Sanchez will follow. So will Benson. And now AJ Green, Jesse Prees are invited back in with roughly 6 or 7 cars in a battle for 4th on back. And that's a pivotal move there for Schaefer. That sends him behind Lounslugger. And that will force him as 4th in the championship running right now. As it stands, AJ Green on the last spot in 10th. And Schaefer did not need that to happen whatsoever, as Porter basically helped Lounslugger just a little bit. Said, all right, you guys were hip checking each other. You guys were slamming doors on the front straightaway. How about I give a little bump there, and turns 3 and 4. And it gave the 13 the spot. But it may be switched back as the 22 gets a nice move out of turn 2. Kyle Benson looking down low, but does not have the momentum nor the space to make that pass complete, so they will single file out. But safe to say, this thing is far from over with 83 laps complete from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Top 3 are broken away from the rest of the field, obviously with 4th on back tussling for the spots. Steven Stepien holding on to 2nd. Brandon Banks, though, last time by, 32 flat. Fastest out of your top 3. And so Banks starting to make a statement. There could be something to be said about this number 88. And in fact, here comes a battle, a challenge for the race lead. Steven Stepien inside. As I mentioned, Pio not wanting to fight too long. Stepien to the race lead once again from Texas. And entering the final 50 laps here from Fort Worth. Lawson Pio still in control of your championship battle with 50 laps to go. And of course, still on the cusp of what may be our final green flag pit stop of the evening. These guys can stretch it out to roughly 45, 50 laps. We've seen a good amount of the field do that. Of course, that caution broke things up. These cars, more gallons than the Gen 6. 20 gallons here on the next-gen car. I believe there was roughly 18 gallons on that Gen 6 machine. So a little bit longer you can go on fuel. So that the extension of the gas definitely will help them make it all the way to the cusp. As I believe now, if they can make that final pit stop, they are good to the end of the race. The biggest note of concern is going to be the tires, how long they last, as Schaefer falls back, had a big mistake, and now AJ Green will try and give him a run for his money in a 3 and 4. Here's Green there, a nice move out of 4 will give him momentum. Schaefer will slap the outside wall, so that's definitely not going to help him. Schaefer on the back foot there after getting hit into 3 by Jaden Porter, who has since moved up to 4th. Now a crossover attempt out of the 22, so side by side, this is for P9 on the racetrack right now, P5 in the championship standings. But AJ Green will have a nice look up ahead of the 22, so he occupies 4th in our championship battle. And again, we look back to the front. Steven Stepien leading this race as of lap 88, with Lawson Pio holding strong in our championship lead above the 88 of Brandon T. Banks. Well, already since we're way more than halfway here in this 134 lapper from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, why don't we take a look at our race summary, see how things have gone over our stretch of laps. We have 47 laps to go. It'll be 46 once we cross the start-finish line. We've only had that one caution to bring us under break and have ourselves our first and only restart of the night behind the iRacing official pace car. That caution, of course, on behalf of Kevin D'Elia, who has since parked the car. He is 20th, 45 laps down and counting. We've had only 4 caution laps on that first yellow. We've had a total of 6 lead changes, this one being the most recent. That's a race summary so far here tonight from our championship finale at Texas Motor Speedway. Brandon Banks closing in on your championship leader. And as we get closer to what may be the final round of green flag stops, you have to question the durability of this 12 on the run. If he could sustain the pace for much longer to hold track position, we've seen him be so crucial, especially at a track as hard to pass as this is. So Banks may have a vantage point if the 12 starts to fall off on pace. We talked about Jaden Porter weaving his way to 4th after the entire field went haywire around that group, and it was the Hornet's Nest. Porter has since cleared, so the rookie driver now up to that 4th position. We'll try to look forward to Brandon Banks, although the gap is roughly about a second between the two. Joe Sanchez has settled into the top 5. And Craig Lounslugger, remember, he made that pass on Eric Schaefer after Schaefer got hit into 3 and 4 by the likes of the 28 of Jaden Porter. He has now moved into 6, and they are now going side by side again for 7th. And another pass switch over, this time Eric Schaefer, the beneficiary, out of the group. And AJ Green trying to stick with him. We talk about Charlotte being a remarkably green race from start to finish, apart from some of the cautions to break up the action, but for the most part, we saw a lot of this green flag racing, and it all came down to how good you are on the long run, and it seems as though we have found our answers. We know Stempien is very solid here. Peel maybe. The fact is, he overdrove his stuff in this second run, trying to keep up to the race lead. Brandon Banks being able to conserve, and now Peel will hop on the brakes, and he will be first onto pit road. So your second place car taking the first trip to pit road tonight, and he won't be alone. Joe Sanchez in it, Eric Schaefer, AJ Green to follow suit as well. And so our first batch of green flag stops here, lap number 93, and there's a look at your race leader, still yet to pit. Brandon Banks has shuffled into 2nd. But now, since they have been the bullet, it's now time for the rest of the field to come in for service. And here comes the 88, Brandon Banks, in at lap number 93. Of course, Banks 2nd in the championship, although he's going to lock up the brakes going onto the pit lane. Not sure if that's going to be a penalty or not. He'll be followed by CJ Winier in the 89. There's Colin Forster, Jesse Prees staying out of the racetrack, or I believe Prees has hit pit road. Indeed, he has, so he's trying to work his way through the field. Curtis Kelly still staying out on the racetrack. And there's a look at Lawson Peel just getting out now. 1 lap down in P8, and should be your net race leader. As there's a look at Brandon Banks coming out of his pit stall. 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and some fuel to make it to the end of the race with 40 laps to go. And as Lawson Peel unlaps himself, there is the transition for the championship lead. Lawson Peel back to the front in the championship 5. So this will give the lead to Lance Hill in the 38. There's Brandon Banks coming out on track, so he will still be on the lead lap. I think this may be the lap where Hill decides to come in. There's a bunch of the fresh tire cars going around. And the big difference, especially here on these intermediates, this track not necessarily as rough on the Goodyear Eagles as we've seen a majority of other tracks, specifically in the round of 10, Darlington and Charlotte. But of course, that tire difference is going to matter as your leader, Lance Hill, does come down pit road. Curtis Kelly will stay out. He'll be joined by his teammate, Colin Forster, in the 99. We've seen Lance Hill and Forster make a pretty deep run into that round of 10. Unfortunately, we're not the Stonks Motorsports drivers to end up in the Championship 5, especially with Lounslugger winning that race at Charlotte. Spoiled the entire party after the 13 came into that race beneath the cut line in the top 5. So they will have to run for a championship next year, of course, rooting their own teammate AJ Green in the Beef Machine as he tries to get his 2nd straight title in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. He now steps into 9th. As here is a fantastic battle around your top 10, top 5. Brandon Banks holding on to 4th, Jesse Prees in 5th, Joe Sanchez in P6, Steven Stempien, your former race leader. He was one of the latest to pit in his 7th. And Craig Lounslugger on the back foot of this discrepancy on tires. Roughly 4 laps between Stempien and Jesse Prees. 2 laps between himself and Joe Sanchez. 1 lap between himself and Brandon Banks. So it only gets slimmer from there. But certainly Stempien looking forward to getting back to the front of the field. Curtis Kelly now 50 laps in his stint there. He is coming out of turn 2. He has yet to pit. But should he come down to his lane, the lead will be given back to Lawson Peel in the 12, and I think the biggest note of concern here, if you're the 88 of Brandon T. Banks, is that he got jumped on that round of stops because Kyle Benson is roughly a 2nd in front of him. And yes, the tires are better on behalf of that 88. He's got fresher rubber, so he can make better use of it and get by the 10, but the distance may be large enough to where he can overdrive his car, where he can overstep his boundaries. You also think of Sanchez, Stempien, all these guys behind him that may challenge for position, and it may make Brandon Banks' life a living hell when it comes down to trying to catch the 12 into the final 40 laps. Now the final 34. here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Curtis Kelly has now hit pit lane, so he will drop back throughout the field. There he is in his Chiquita Banana number 71. His Chevy Camaro now comes out of the lane. The 14.5-second stop, the freshest tires out of the field, with, of course, track position going to help the likes of Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson, and Brandon Banks, who occupy your top 3 as we cross the line for lap 100 here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We mentioned the outright speed on a majority of tracks in the season where this 12 had been so dominant. You think about how long it took him to get his first win of the year, and that answer was only 2. He got his first win at the Phoenix Raceway in race number 2, and then picked it up with 2 straight wins at Las Vegas and at Michigan, 2 very different tracks. Of course, the 1.5 miler in Las Vegas, a crazy race into the nightfall that we saw there, and then Michigan, the wild race there to follow. And then it took him a while before he came back to victory lane, but it took last season's championship finale, where Peel had gone to victory lane with the Gen 6 cars the season prior, got to victory lane again, then went 2 in a row once more after winning the Dash for Cash finale and winning the race at Homestead at Miami Speedway. And then it took him a couple of more races before he got his 6th win of the year, and that came at Rockingham, North Carolina, the second race in the round of 15. Has yet to grab a win since, but those points certainly have helped. It'll be win 7 if Peel can get it done in the final 32 laps. And it will be his first ever 4-wide Racing Cup Series championship. Just an update on the battle for second, 7/10 of a second between Brandon Banks and Kyle Benson. But a hard-charging Steven Stepien in the race lead earlier on tonight is closing in. He's got better tires by a margin of 1 lap. And that 1 lap may be the difference here to prevent Banks from catching up to Peel any further. Joe Sanchez has settled in a 5th. They're going side by side for 6th on the racetrack. It is Craig Lownslugger, Jesse Priest going at it. Of course, Lownslugger, one of your Championship 5 tonight. Jesse Priest not running for the title. Jesse Priest, one of the Drinkin' Bros Racing teammates. AJ Green, the 3rd car in that group in P8. So we'll see if Green has any answer for these guys at the moment, if he wants to continue to make progress. It has not been the night on an intermediate that the 48 had been hoping for, especially with the strong pace that he had to start and that pole sitting time. And it just has not fallen to his way, and it just hasn't been the night for Sox Motorsports. And here is the pass that Brandon Banks had been fearing to try and catch up to the 12. Yes, they're catching up to the 10 of Kyle Benson, who holds 2nd. But as they ride on board with the 3 of Steven Stepien, that's a pass complete for 3rd. So another buffer, non-playoff driver in between Lawson Peel, your championship leader, with 30 laps to go, and Brandon Banks, who now has to hold on for 4th. Stepping a little bit of a hiccup there in 1 and 2, trying to arc the corner and diamond against Kyle Benson, who will send the block there on the back straightaway. And it looks like that will be the savior for Banks to at least follow the 3 in his tire tracks. But that's a move there that you don't want to see. Benson being able to clear, and Banks having to do a little more extra work. Joe Sanchez there, the bright yellow and red Lego Foundation Chevy Camaro. I think the first time we see a full-blown Lego scheme on behalf of the 55. So some nice colors here for the one-time race winner here in the season at New Hampshire earlier on in the campaign. And Sanchez just looking to capitalize this season the best way he can. But it is now 2.1 seconds and counting for the 12 of Peel and the 3 of Steven Stepien. And again, remember, battle for second, or battle for the lead rather, with Stepien is not going to be the biggest concern. It's going to be Brandon Banks that he needs to worry about. Peel, of course, regardless of whether he's 2nd or 1st, will be the championship leader anyway. So he just has to worry about clearing his own ground, making sure he can be as clean as possible, and not trying to put too much of resistance against that 3 if he does catch up. Of course, Stepien does have some fresher tires than the 12 machine. He did pit later than your current race leader by about 2 laps total. So we should see Stepien be closer to the 12 as he closes in on 2 seconds. And there's some lap traffic up ahead the road. That is Cody Ivey in the 81. But for right now, Lawson Peel in control into the final 26 laps from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Here's a nice battle around the top 5. This is Jaden Porter in 6th place. Craig Lounslugger 7th. AJ Green in 8th. Jesse Prees on the rear side of this in 9th. And this quartet right now actually 6 on max, so not in the top 5. They're still needing to catch up to Joe Sanchez, who's looking to make a pass soon enough in turn 1 on the 10 of Kyle Benson, which it looks like he will out of turn 2 if he grabs the momentum. But these guys all in a single file line. But at the end of the day, no further progress. And at this point, you figure that they're looking for the worst case scenario in hopes. And that is a yellow flag coming out at this point of the race. Because right now, as it stands, it's going to be between Lawson Peel and Brandon Banks. That is, of course, if they get close enough to each other on the track. But the green flag stop certainly not helping with the distance. And those strategies not planning out the way they wanted it to. There's Cody Ivy making way on the outside for your leader, Lawson Peel. It looks like Lawson will have no trouble getting the bottom side of Ivy. And Ivy will stay up top in the middle of 3 and 4. So Lawson Peel will add another buffer here, although the gap has closed in. 1.5 seconds between Peel and Stepien. So soon enough, we may see that Chevy Accessories Chevy Camaro catch up to the 12. And we figure that Cody Ivy won't necessarily give him too harsh of a run up at the front of the field. Here's Jaden Porter getting by Kyle Benson. That is a pass into the top 5. So finally, we can say Jaden Porter back into the top 5. A solid move for the 28, who, by the way, did NIS, the NASCAR iRacing Series at Michigan earlier on this afternoon. Did it at the 5 p.m. slot on a Wednesday afternoon and was able to finish in top split in the top 10. So that's congratulations for Porter, though. But he hits the outside wall. Coming out of turn 4, is there toe link damage? Answer is no. I think the hit was a little bit too soft there for it to assess any suspension damage, but that could have been huge there. That angle showing the sparks out of the corner as Lounslugger makes the pass on Benson, of course, with some of the oldest tires out of this top 10. We may see AJ Green get by him in a handful of moments' notice. So Benson trying to hold on in his 213 Simware Chevy Camaro. The same scheme, as a matter of fact, that he ran at Darlington, that Milwaukee paint scheme that he ran in his opening campaign season, his rookie season. And so we'll monitor Benson as he continues to fall through the top 10. But as Lawson Peel crosses the start-finish line, once he comes out of turn 4, it will mark 21 laps to go from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. This run should, of course, get the field to the end of the race. As they ride on board with the number 12 in a 5th gear, now stepping into 4th. So the fuel may not be an issue. Tires, though, the biggest concern, as it is 9/10 of a second between Stepien and Peel. Stepien now getting around the lap car, Cody Ivy. Cody Ivy, the first and only car 1 lap down that's still on track. So nice look for the rest of the field. Nobody a lap down apart from that 81. And, of course, Kevin DeLeo, we talked about him, 70 laps down and counting after becoming the cause of our first and only caution so far here tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. 20 laps to go. Strike the 12 of Lawson Peel. The difference between this 12 car and his first ever 4-wide Racing Cup Series championship. Stepien trying to close in, but Lawson Peel looking to cap off a dominating season and get his first ever title. Nice grouping here for the top 4. This is Joe Sanchez, now under fire from Jaden Porter in the 28. So Porter only continues to knock off driver after driver in his hit list to go up to the front. We're going to get a nice exit out of turn 2. A little wiggle there out of the 55. 28 will try to make this move. There's a look up ahead at Brandon Banks, who now gets his line taken away, frankly, by the 81 of Cody Ivy. And so Ivy looks like he will make way as well. Hasn't been too much of a problem here. And the 81 has given the line to these leaders here. It looks like, actually, he will not. He will hold the inside, so making the 88's life a little bit worse here into the top 3. 9/10 of a second behind Peel, so he is catching your current race leader and championship leader with 18 laps to go. But that little hiccup may lose him some time. Now taking the longer way around in 3 and 4 on the middle lane. And Ivy not giving up on the very bottom. So Banks weaves his way in, of course, still remaining in third. And could catch up in enough time to the 3 of Steven Stempien. That last time by, though, Lawson Peel, the fastest out of your top 3, a 31.835. Stempien with a 31.9. Banks with a 31.9 as well. And so some more time lost, and that may be what settles it for Lawson Peel if he can hold on to it. And, of course, if this race stays green with 17 laps to go. Tyler Murray, of course, league owner asking, or Tyler Warner rather, not your league owner Tyler Murray, he's on track right now. Tyler Warner asking in chat, has there been a caution? The answer is yes. We had our first caution at around lap 47, so a substantial green flag run before we settled things down. That caution including Kevin D'Elia, who smacked the outside wall at a turn 2 when chasing down the track, slammed the inside wall on the back straightaway, held it on the apron, and it looked like the caution was not going to wave, but then D'Elia came to a slow halt into 3 and 4 on the apron, and of course race control thought that was definitely dangerous enough to warrant a yellow. But ever since, we have been green flag racing into 15 laps to go from Texas. He's looking at a 3-way battle for 7th. AJ Green, the first driver in that group. Jesse Prees, the 2nd. Eric Schaefer, the 3rd. Has not been the Championship 5 race that AJ Green nor Eric Schaefer have been looking for. We saw some highlights there out of the 22 earlier on in our opening run. And we saw that slight incident where he got chased up the track after getting hit from behind by the 28 of Jaden Porter, and then around with the 13 for position, and that 22 has basically stalled after the round of green flag stops in that 9th position. Same deal for your pole sitter, AJ Green, looking for 2 in a row in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Title-wise, if it stays like this, of course, things will break, and that streak would not be existent. The 48 needing, at least most of these guys needing a caution in order to get back in this deal. As Lawson Peel catches 13 laps to go, the gap has now closed in between him and Stempien, but again, not the worry that Peel wants to have. If they go side by side, and the worry more lies within Brandon T. Banks, who has fallen back 1.3 seconds and counting to your race leader. So there's good news on behalf of the 12. And again, does not matter if Stempien goes by and wins this race. As long as Peel stays ahead of the other 4, he will be your Season 4 champion in 2022 for the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. 11 and a half laps left from Fort Worth, Texas. Look at the closing. Stempien, who has been outstanding all race long and may put up a battle for the lead before this is all said and done. I remember last season did not have a championship driver win the race. It was Lawson Peel, who was at the time a rookie in the series, went to victory lane, got his 2nd win of the year after his first at Richmond, but it was all AJ Green just finishing the race ahead of the other 4, and that's all he needed for his title. Peel, of course, would love a 7th win to cap off what's been a remarkable season on behalf of that 12 machine. But if Stempien forces his hand, Peel doesn't need to fight him for it. As the gap closes down again, 0.3 of a second, as you ride on board with the 3, chasing down your race leader with 10 laps to go. What a race it's been for Stempien so far. And if he can close it out with his first win of the year in his first start, it'll be a huge accomplishment for that Chevy Accessories number 3. As we've got a battle for 7th, that's Jesse Prees now underneath 48 of AJ Green, so another lost spot on behalf of Green. And now here comes Eric Schaefer to make it 2 passes underneath that 48. As we approach 9 laps to go, they remain side by side in turns 1 and 2. But again, they desperately need a yellow if they want to get back in the mix for the championship, as it has been all the 12. Gap between Peel and Banks, 2.2 seconds. And it looks like Banks has reached that cliff in the tire life. Stempien still trying to maximize what he has left on his Goodyear Eagles. But for Lawson Peel, his concerns certainly dissipating. There's Craig Lautenschlager in 6th. If he can stay here, he will lock in 3rd in the championship. What was a huge comeback season, consistent throughout the entirety of the playoffs. Won this race last week at Charlotte to spoil the party. And if he can hold on to that spot, it'll be another solid top 10 to end the year. Of course, it won't be the championship he's been looking for. But it may be a nice momentum booster for next season. Jaden Porter, we saw him on the backside of Joe Sanchez. That has since calmed down, so Sanchez has continued to hold on for 4th. And Jaden Porter, in his rookie season, will look to finalize the final race of the season with a top 5 after winning one race at Nashville in the playoffs. And if he can make a full-time appearance in the next season, it will be a huge concern for the rest of the field on how quick that 28 has been out of the gate. But we turn our attention back to your championship leader, Lawson Peel, who will go into 3 and 4 and will catch 5 laps to go from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Again, talk about that distance between himself and Steven Stepien. It's now grown 0.6 of a second, 32 flat. Matter of fact, a 31.9 for the 12, a 32.1 for the 3 of Stepien. As it looks like the tires have fallen off on that Chevy Camaro. And as long as we stay green, this looks to be the fight for the end. Quartet here starting with AJ Green. This is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th on the racetrack right now. AJ Green just trying to hold on to what he has left after a successful pass on the 00. And as Schaefer smacks the outside wall, that's going to be an insult to injury there. Jesse Prees might be able to work to the inside. Answer will be no. And he'll stick back in turn 1. And you have to give credit to the Championship 5, how good they've been all season. Eric Schaefer proving he can still be in the game with those multiple wins. AJ Green with his 2 wins on the season at both Richmond and Daytona. Craig Lautenschlager, Brandon Banks with their respective wins on the year. But none have come close to the 12 with 6 wins on the year, and the only driver in the season to go 2 in a row twice. A Dash for Cash winner as well at Homestead, Miami. And as he comes out of turn 4, only 3 miles separate Lawson Peel from his first ever 4-wide Racing Cup Series championship. Stepien still half a second behind, but Peel with 2 laps to go from Texas Motor Speedway. Brandon Banks has fallen back 2.4 seconds between himself and the 12. And it looks like the whole field will be single file by the time this one is over. Lawson Peel out of turn 4 will have 1.5 miles left. White flag in the championship finale from Texas. And last season, after making a handful of starts, grabbing those 2 wins, we said that Lawson Peel might be a force to be reckoned with. When the next season came around, come Phoenix, race number 2 of the season, grabs his first win, grabs 5 more after that, and it'll be another one added to the tally along with the championship. Out of turn 4, Lawson Peel gets win number 7 and is your 2022 4-wide Racing Cup Series champion. Steven Stepien, a beautiful race from start to finish on behalf of the rookie. Finishes P2. Brandon Banks, you have to give credit after starting deeper in the field than any other championship driver this evening. Finishes 3rd, 2nd in the championship in his 2nd straight championship 5 appearance. Joe Sanchez locks up the top 4 to be rookie Jaden Porter, who holds up the top 5 as they wreck after the start-finish line. Oh, and they've wrecked Lawson Peel too. So I think they may have salted his burnout just a little bit. Maybe not, but of course the field in good spirits. And Lawson Peel, 7 wins In 2022, there's the Stonks Motorsports duo, Lance Hill, Colin Forrester, to give their congratulations. Curtis Kelly in as well. Drinking Bros Racing with a championship. And Lawson Peel to burn it down for one final time in the season. Sort of think of the season that Peel has had in comparison to like a Kyle Larson in 2021. Had the most wins out of anybody on the calendar. Looked like he could control races and set the tone from start to finish. And even in days where it didn't look like he was the fastest car out there, somehow he would find his way back in the mix. That last win proved it at Rockingham before tonight, where he crashed out of turn 2, got the fast repair, and came back to win. But this time seals it off in the most Lawson Peel way possible. After controlling the field for a majority of the race, leading the most laps. And as he celebrates with Sanchez, with Tony Kibbett, a damaged Chevy Camaro. But nonetheless, it's a championship winning car. Lawson Peel, your 2022 Season 4 champion. So as the 12 of Peel will continue to burn it down from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, we'll slip through all of our results after 134 laps and only after one caution throughout the entire race. Lawson Peel wins his 7th race of the year, and that is, of course, the ceiling factor to secure a 4-wide Racing Cup Series championship. Steven Stempien, in his first start this season in the 3-car, started up front, did well, led some laps, and finished his 2nd. Got to give a lot of credit to Stempien. We will talk to him on our post-race coverage. Same deal, of course, for Brandon Banks, who comes home 3rd. A strong performance out of the double 8 machine, but of course it is not good enough to go for the championship at the end. Joe Sanchez in the 55 in the Lego Foundation car had some building success over tonight, if I could make a pun there. Finishes P4. Jaden Porter, your rookie driver, finishes in the top 5, so a huge momentous run for Jaden Porter to end the season. Hopefully he can make a full-time start and full-time season next time when we kick things off once again. Craig Lownslugger finishes in P6. He is 3rd in our championship tally. AJ Green, Eric Schaefer, the last 2 for the championship, 5, 7th, and 8th on the racetrack. Jesse Prees in the 00 finishes in 9th, and Kyle Benson had some of the oldest tires off of our last stretch of green flag pit stops, and he rounds out your current top 10. Here's everybody that's left. Lance Hill finished 2nd tonight, but just could not keep the pace up after qualifying. He finishes 11th. Colin Forrester is able to settle for P12. It'll be Tony Kibbett in the 76, who finishes 13th tonight. Curtis Kelly 14th. Christopher Bishop in the 42 rounds out your top 15. CJ Winier finishes 16th. It'll be 17th for Michael Newbraw. 18th for your league owner, Tyler Murray. It'll be 19th, 1 lap down for the 81 machine of Cody Ivey, the first and only car who finishes on track 1 lap down or more. And Kevin D'Elia was taken out of the race, got into a crash, caused our first caution earlier on tonight. He is 90 laps down. That's where he finishes. P20 here from Texas. So, of course, a lot to cover at the end of tonight's 134 lapper from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, but we will take a break, and when we come back, we will have our post-race coverage from Fort Worth, Texas. We'll talk to our top 3 and the rest of our championship 5 as we close out the season for the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. Don't go anywhere. We've got more next on MaxSpeedTV.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, where we have just finished the final race of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series in Season 4, and what a finish it was, as Lawson Peel grabs his 7th win of the season, and most importantly, his first ever 4 Wide Racing Cup Series champion. It'll be our time to step to victory and championship victory lane at that, with the driver of the 12, Lawson Peel, who leads a majority of the race here tonight and is your 2022 4 Wide Racing Cup Series champion. First of all, Lawson, when things happened last season, you joined the league, you got your first 2 wins at Richmond, at Atlanta. Could you ever have imagined making your first full-time season approach, winning 7 races, and getting your championship in your very first try?
No, I didn't think it would go quite this well. It was a great season, and I'm so glad I joined the league, and just have so much fun with these guys. They're all so much fun to race with and be around. It exceeded my expectations, absolutely.
88 laps led tonight. I think, like I said earlier on tonight, I think the most Lawson Peel way you could get a championship. It's been such a dominating approach. From race number 2, you got your first win at Phoenix, and then grabbing win after win after win after that. Just walk us through how crazy the season has been and performance on your behalf, where it felt like many times you could control the tempo of the races and just have it fall into your lap whenever you want it, to get win after win and to, of course, enter the championship 5.
Yeah, I certainly had some good luck on my side, and the race kind of like it was tonight, the long green flag runs, just one caution. It just kind of plays to my advantage. I'm sure you know about me by now. I really like long green flag runs on ovals. Texas is a little bit of a weird one. It's just hard to it's a little harder to repeat a consistent lap here than a lot of the other ovals. So I was nervous about it. We had the ARCA race last night, and I certainly wasn't the best car. So I didn't really know what to expect. I hoped I would be able to save tires well over the long run and be fast with that long run speed. But I really didn't know. I was just kind of hoping for the best. And, for us to only have, one caution tonight, one caution, or I guess it was 2 last week, but the only reason was because I broke my right front tire, and, that Mark swerved to avoid me and that brought out a yellow, and then we had a restart yellow right after that. But if that wouldn't have happened, that whole race could have gone green. And then the week before at Talladega, we only had one also. So that just really goes to show you a lot about everybody in here. I mean, like Craig said, I think in his interview last week, you just don't have anybody in here that like you typically see in leagues that that doesn't drive smart. I mean, we all drive smart. We all respect each other 98% of the time. And for us to just have race after race like this, just one caution here and there, it just goes to show a lot about everybody. And I really appreciate everybody in here. I love racing with all of them, and the environment that Tyler creates in this league and just lets us have fun and enjoy each other's company is so much fun. And like any league, we have beef and disagreements here and there, but most of it is short-lived and lighthearted, and doesn't last long. And but really, thank you to him for putting up with it and doing everything he does to put on this league. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's a truly awesome league.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you on that one. This league has provided so many great moments and a lot of great races. And speaking of great races, I think tonight definitely was one of them. Not only with your situation winning the championship, but just overall, Steven Stepien giving you a run for your money there. Brandon Banks catching up. I want to ask you about that. Did you have any concerns about what the possibilities could be like, especially after that last round of green flag pit stops, that Stepien and Banks might give you a run perhaps for the first place on the racetrack?
Yeah, absolutely. Steven's good everywhere. I mean, he's just a constant threat everywhere we go. So, I knew he was going to be fast and a factor. And then Brandon is also another guy that's really good on a long green flag run and a little bit of a tight setup. That suits him well also. And I short pitted both of those guys a little bit there. Craig came down. He was only, like 2.5 seconds behind me. And with him being a championship 5 contender, I didn't want to go more than one lap longer than him and allow him to jump me. So, I came in the next lap after him. I think Banks ran one more and Stepien ran 2 more. So they definitely had fresher tires than me that last run. But I was able to just take advantage of the clean air and just hold the gap. I mean, the dirty air was insane tonight. It's such a factor. I mean, at a lot of these tracks we go in this next gen car, it's just it's wicked behind another car. So having that clean air on your nose is everything. And I was a little worried about Brandon over the course of that run, just eating chunks out of my lead with those fresher tires. But was able to just use that clean air to kind of equalize it out and keep the lead. So I'm definitely relieved. I didn't want to see that one and only caution we had because I was out there a little bit. So yeah, but I'm glad we kind of kept it with 2 green flag runs after that. That played into my advantage pretty well.
Of course, like you said, with the beef, I think we can say the same thing about the fact that I was just about to say the fact that something was short-lived. Now I've completely forgot about it. But nonetheless, this championship, of course, your first ever in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. And, after coming off a rookie campaign where you won those 2 races and you came into the season basically on fire, now that it's kind of hit you a little bit, you got some time to reflect. What does it really mean to you to grab a season championship like this and to lead a majority of the way to the end into that checkered flag?
Yeah, I'm a little lost for words, really. I mean, it's just been such a great year. I did not expect it to go this well. A lot of it was luck. A lot of it kind of, a couple of them fell into my laps, but a lot of them went like this, just long races. And I was able to just kind of outlast people on the long runs. And, if we would have had more restarts and short runs at a lot of these races, I think that would have benefited some of the other guys. So it's sort of just kind of how the race plays out. And a lot of them went my way. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm happy, and it was a great season, and just really the biggest thing for me is just how much I enjoy everybody in this league, not just all my teammates that are just fantastic and have so much fun with every night, and we all support each other, but all the drivers in here. I mean, we're all pretty social with each other, and there's really not a lot of animosity between people. I mean, we all just enjoy coming in here and having fun in the middle of the week, and that's what does it for me. I mean, I just really get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Of course, we saw a lot of enjoyment throughout this entire season in the broadcast booth, and of course, a huge championship tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Just before we let you go, Lawson, I think there's one question that we certainly have to ask you at the end of this one. What is the celebration method? What are you pulling out to celebrate the championship tonight?
I'm gonna get back over and chat with my Drinking Bros teammates, and we will figure it out.
Well, it has Drinking Bros in the name, so maybe some alcohol in it. I don't know. But yeah. Lawson, of course, a huge championship tonight, and an overall season 2 remember here in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. Just before we send you off to celebrate with your teammates and company, anybody else you want to thank for the performance and the championship season?
Yeah, Tyler, once again, the other admins, Austin and Kyle. Man, you for putting on such a great broadcast. You got it going on, all the highlights from the week before, and you catch all the action on the track and just cover it so well. So, man, you got it going on. Thank you so much for putting on awesome broadcasts for us all year. And Paul's Setup Shop and everybody in the field, like I said, everybody that shows up week in and week out. And, even the guys that I race hard with and want to beat, man. I really love all of them. So thank you to everybody.
What could be classified as a picture-perfect season in 2022. Lawson, of course, on behalf of our entire team at MaxSpeedTV, I know Francisco Bacchiao not with us in the booth tonight, but I know he would just like to send you, just like myself, a huge congratulations on the 7 wins on the calendar, and of course this 2022 championship. We hope to see you next time we start a season here in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. Hopefully we're around it in the broadcast booth, but for now, congratulations. Enjoy the title.
Thank you so much, Kenneth.
So it's Lawson Peel, 88 laps led on his tally to win the 7th race, win his 7th race of the year, and of course grab his 2022 champion. Why don't we take it back to second place? I know it's not a championship driver, but it is a race to remember on behalf of Steven Stempy. And Steven, of course, welcome to our broadcast booth. Walk us through the pace tonight. You were fast in practice. You led a good amount of laps, 27 on your tally here tonight from Texas, and of course just a remarkable run all throughout.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me up here. Just didn't really get the qualifying position that I wanted. The track changed a little bit from practice to qualifying, so it's a little bit more tighter. After that first run before the caution, realized I wasn't doing a good job saving, but I was also in traffic trying to battle my way up to the front, and knew once I got the track position I was going to take it easy on the tires. I'm pretty good at saving. I'm trying to save my stuff for the long run, and halfway through that, after that caution, I found something that was working through 1 and 2 really well, that I was able to gain some ground on everybody through those corners. So that worked. Made a bad call on waiting to stay out a couple extra laps on Lawson and Brandon. Thought having the fresher tires with 30 plus to go was gonna be the way to hopefully steal a win. But strong finish. Happy with P2. Happy for my guys over at DBR. They Lawson, great championship. He's a great driver. All the guys on that team are. So pretty excited for him, but wish I could have made it interesting. As soon as you get to that half second mark, just that dirty air, just made it difficult to get up to him. So,
but nonetheless, still a huge night for the DBR guys. Of course, Lawson Peel with the championship, you getting second, even further down through the order. A lot of great performances for the Drinker Bros Racing camp. But for you, of course, what was the kink here with Texas Motor Speedway? I know this track is very different from a lot of 1.5 milers that we've ran before in the season and overall in 4Wide Racing Cup's history. You have 2 different ends of the racetrack. What's it like getting around this track and trying to master 2 different ends with a car that loses downforce and has tires that are very different from other stock cars on the service?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Obviously, both corners are extremely different and handle a little bit different. Coming off 2, you got really loose, and then coming off 4, you were tight, especially behind people, which made Texas being the track that is pretty difficult to begin with, you add in dirty air, and it's not a good combination. So obviously clean air was key here, but it's a fun track. It's different. Like to see a little bit more banking down through 1 and 2, but what can you do? Still a unique track, and it's always been a blast to drive. So still takes P2. I'm happy with that. For Texas, the first time I've ran the car here in the next gen, so I'll take it.
Of course, a stellar performance here from Fort Worth, Texas. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first start in the season for the 4Wide Racing Cup Series, at least with this configuration and these cars. But based on the finish tonight, is there any chance we're going to be seeing you for Season 5 when that thing kicks off later in the year?
Yeah, actually, Wednesdays are my off day for work. So, my buddy Joe Sanchez, we were hanging, chilling. He was doing some painting, and I was doing some fix, and he's like, "Hey, you should come race with us." I was like, "Hell yeah!" So, looking forward to it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not sure whether we're staying with the next-gen cars. Of course, still things to be confirmed for that next season, but it's going to be exciting to see you there. Nonetheless, Steven, on behalf of our team, of course, want to congratulate you on the second-place finish, but before we let you go, anybody you want to thank?
Just you guys doing the broadcast over at MaxSpeedTV. And my dad out there, I know he was in the chat watching. He just watches every time I get a race in, and all the guys over at DBR. Great group of guys. Glad to be a part of that team, and my beautiful fiance and my 1-year-old son out there. Who's probably sleeping a little bit late, past their bedtime. So, but appreciate it, and hopefully see you for Season 5.
Well, nonetheless, of course, Steven, on behalf of our team, again, want to send you congratulations on the second-place finish from Texas Motor Speedway. Wishing you the best of luck moving forward, and hopefully we do get to see you when we wave the green to kick off Season 5. Again, congratulations on the finish, and we'll see you moving forward.
Hey, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Steven Stepien in the 3, who comes home in second just behind his teammate in the 12 of Lawson Peel, your 2022 champion. We'll walk through the rest of our Championship 5, starting with the second-place driver in that 5 group. It'll be Brandon T. Banks in the 88, the winner at Talladega a couple of weeks back, second in the championship tonight from Texas. Brandon, was there anything else that you needed in that final run specifically to catch up to Peel and fight for the title?
Faster car. Those guys were fast, man. I don't know what else I could really did. I tried to stay out a little longer there than Lawson and try to get it. He got in off pit road really fast. So and then Stepien came out kind of right behind me, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to hold. Those two guys were kind of the class of the field majority of the night, and I had kind of the same problem with the Stepien had, just qualified in the middle of the pack, just couldn't get the track position. By the time we got the track position out there at the end, it was just Lawson's. He's so good on these tracks where it just goes green, and it's just, this track is so tight, and he just does so well at it. So I don't really think so. I think I finished about where I should have finished. And like I said, we'll take it. It was a good season, better than last season. I think I ended up finishing 5th last season. I got in a wreck or something, but so I'll take second. And like I said, just great job to him, and congrats to him. He deserves it for sure.
And of course, like you said, the Championship 5 appearance, so we'll talk about that from last season into this season, but it looked like, obviously, the transition from Season 4 to Season 5 was as big as you can make it, with the next-gen car constantly getting updated throughout the year 2022 in its first full season in real-life NASCAR Cup competition, and of course, a different championship finale, a different schedule overall. What were the biggest hurdles, of course, transitioning from Season 4 to Season 5 and still being able to make the most out of this campaign with the Chevy Camaro?
Well, the biggest thing, obviously, changing the car. It's such a big difference from this car to Gen 6 car, and then on top of that, trying to keep up with all the changes that iRacing was making on the car. Between making it really was, it was drive bad at the beginning of the season, and it got really good, I think, there towards the middle, and then they started changing again, and now it's getting really tight again. So I don't know. I think it's just trying to keep up with their changes, and then, like I said, just trying to learn this car in general. It's tough. It pushes the right front so hard, and the dirty air is brutal. So especially at tracks like this. So just biggest thing is just trying to learn how to keep the air on the front of the nose there. Lawson was trying to teach me all season to, quit riding behind people and try to get your nose under them, and it just helps the car turn. And I think it started helping me there towards the end of the season. There, I started kind of figuring it out. We got a couple leagues that we run with this car, so we slowly kind of figuring it out. But yeah, I don't think there was much I could do with those guys. It was like I said, they were really good, and Stimpy, and we raced with him and MPI on Sundays, and he's good there too. So I knew him coming over, he was going to be strong, and but a good finish for our whole team. I think we finished 1 through 4 there at the end, so couldn't get much better than that.
Still, of course, second in the championship behind your teammate Lawson Peel, your second straight Championship 5 appearance, of course, like we talked about last season at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I have to imagine, even with the win at Talladega, to lock yourself into the Championship 5, and even though you're just short of the title, this has to be a season of merit where you were able to figure out this car, like you said, over time. You got that win at the Super Speedway, and it felt like the momentum was riding on your side. Now, after this finish in Season 4, what can you take to Season 5 to be even better that time around and to improve on what's already been a really, really good history in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series?
Just getting a little more practice on this car. Like I said, they're going to keep changing it, and we just kind of have to do what we can about keeping up with the changes that iRacing makes on it. And I really need to kind of do what Lawson does. Lawson gets in there and he races a ton of officials and stuff in this car, and this is all he does is just this car over and over again, and just the repetition that he does, I think, just makes him so good in here. So maybe I had to get in there and do a couple of them officials with him, and just try to figure it out a little more before we actually get into these races. And but yeah, just trying to keep up with the changes is about all we could really do. Like I said, we got such a solid team. We get out and practice and race each other pretty much every single night. So get a lot of good guys in here and a lot of people to learn from. So hopefully next season we can just come out and be just as strong.
Well, a fantastic season overall for you and the 88 team. Of course, DBR as well, like you said, 1st through 4th, and a championship to go along with it. Brandon, before we let you go here on this Season 4 conclusion from Texas, anybody else you want to thank for making this run tonight and this entire season possible?
Just want to say congrats to Lawson. Like I said, he's definitely worthy of the championship. Tyler and Reedy and all those guys are putting this on. This is such an amazing league, man. Well, I've been racing this league probably, I don't know, 3 years now. These guys are awesome, and they put on a really good league. I said the DBR guys, they're awesome. Like I said, we run together every night and appreciate everything they do, and they've taught all of us. So like I said, your broadcast, man, is amazing. So we really appreciate what you do, and hope that you'll come back and broadcast for us for a couple more seasons. And like I said, it's just a really great league to be in, and like I said, hopefully people out there that are watching, they see that and they come and join us, and we can fill this field out and just keep it going.
Well, there's one thing I could say, Brandon, is of course it's been an honor watching you out on the racetrack, calling all the moments. And I know that Talladega race, I was going all over the place when you went by and scattered for that first win of the season. Of course, Brandon, on behalf of our team, want to send a huge congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight. No, obviously it's not the championship, but still a season to remember. Congrats on making the Championship 5 this season. And of course, we hope to see you when we kick off things in Season 5 later this year.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Brandon Banks, 2nd in the championship, finishing 3rd here tonight. And like he mentioned, 1st through 4th on behalf of Drinkin' Bros Racing. So not only is it a championship for Lawson Peel, it is solid finishes for most of the teammates in the field. We'll kick it off to the driver who finishes in 6th place tonight into the top 10. It is 3rd in the championship. We'll see if we can dial in the 13 of Craig Lautenslugger. Craig, I know it was a really tough race. I know there was a lot of moments where it looked like things got very sketchy. Just walk us through your entire night here from Texas.
It's pretty frustrating. I got to give it to DBR. They raced as a team, and their front drivers basically had an escort the entire night. Unfortunately, it wasn't like a real NASCAR where the top 4 or 5 go out and tear each other's guts out. But yeah, basically it felt like every second of every lap I had someone on my outside, somebody blocking me who wasn't in the playoffs. Yeah, just really rough. wasn't able to run around, wasn't able to race all night. And when I did have an opportunity to put myself within a few seconds of the leader, I got left hooked and lost a couple of places because of that, and then that was over. So you go into a race hoping to just tear it up with the top 5, and instead you wind up racing an entire team. So what can you do about it? I mean, I guess it's not against the rules, so they just went and took full advantage of it.
Was a part of that Southern Heat racing team in the 13. And, you know, first thing, obviously, I noted apart from the fact that you're in the Championship 5 was the fact that you did go back to the Toyota that you've been running all season long, some American Airlines colors. I do like the change here tonight from Texas, but just give us the experience behind the wheel, what it was like. Obviously, a change in track once again between season after season for the finale. Last year, it was a very rough Atlanta Motor Speedway surface. This year, it's a repaved Texas Motor Speedway. So how was it between last season's competition and, of course, tonight's race with these next-gen cars at this track?
It wasn't too bad out there. I felt like I practiced for, you know, arcing from corner to from corner entry to corner exit, and unfortunately, there was basically a car out there every time I tried to do that. And even the cars that weren't in the championship were racing like their life depended on it for some reason. But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to race kind of like Charlotte, where we just went and had long runs, and whoever was fastest was fastest. But unfortunately, a lot of my practice effort kind of went to null because it was just so heavily trafficked and a lot of dirty air. It wasn't nice. I think the track can race a lot better than that, but unfortunately it didn't tonight. And it's not too. I mean, I think I kind of really figured out Texas to a certain degree. I felt like I had saved my tires most of the runs, especially the first run. I had like 60% right front. I was getting loose, not tight, so I definitely was doing something right. It just wasn't able to take advantage of it.
Well, nonetheless, still a great season overall. Of course, that win that you got last week in scintillating fashion against Jaden Porter by the slimmest of margins. I think the closest 4-wide Racing Cup Series finish in series history from Charlotte to get you into this very round. What are the things mainly that you can take away from this change to the next-gen car, this experience in Season 4, and of course, what's next to come in Season 5 later in the year?
Looking forward to racing the next gen more. I think it's not as bad as some people say. Definitely kind of enjoyed the update where it's kind of a bit more tire wear. It definitely helped me at Charlotte, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think Season 5. I don't know, maybe we make some tweaks with fuel load or something to loosen up the car. Something maybe not setup wise, but I think we can look at a lot of stuff, and I'm looking to see how this car progresses.
Of course, this car going to go through a lot of changes, but we know it's the same old Craig Lounslugger fast in, week out. Of course, here in this Championship 5 appearance from Texas. Before we let you go, Craig, anybody else you want to thank for tonight's finish and tonight's Championship 5 appearance season?
Yeah, thanks. It was a blast. Glad just to be in the final, honestly.
Well, Craig, of course, on behalf of our team here at MaxSpeedTV, want to send you congratulations on the finish here tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And, of course, we look forward to seeing that 13 back out on track in Season 5 later in 2022.
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to it.
So Craig Lounslugger finishes 6th. He is 3rd in our Championship 5, and we'll talk to the last two on the tally. 7th and 8th behind that 13. It'll be the 48 machine. We'll talk to first our defending champion, AJ Green, who led one lap and started on the pole here tonight from Texas. AJ, just walk us through this race tonight from Texas. I know this track was very tough, and I know you said burn Texas in the chat already. So what are your thoughts after tonight's Championship 5 race?
I mean, I felt good in practice. I did like a long run. I normally don't do long runs in practice, but I tried to see what it felt like, and it felt good. Dirty air didn't feel bad. We get into qualifying, and I don't know, I somehow set up a pole lap after not doing very well, trying to get a fast lap in practice. And going into 3 on the first lap, I thought having nobody around me, a couple tenths to the Lance behind me, I thought I would just take it easy, and I took it easy, and it shot right up the track, and I fell ever since.
I know definitely it was a rough race there, especially in the middle of the run. And, this Texas Motor Speedway definitely lends itself to that inside lane. What was it like to kind of fight for that? I know you were in some battles. Think Joe Sanchez you were in it with as well. I think Eric Schaefer you were in a fight with as well. That was for 7th into the top 10. So how was it just trying to pin that car to the inside and in a race where most of the drivers, at least from what I've talked to, were talking a lot about the dirty air and how it affects this car specifically?
Oh yeah, the dirty air was. I knew the dirty air was going to be in somewhat of effect, and it's fighting on the bottom with your right front going away every lap, and people sending it. It's just a tough battle, and it was bound to have some people knock doors down, and which happened. I got to witness everything from being in 9th pretty much the whole last half of the race. But yeah, I don't like dirty air. It's just these cars in Texas just don't work.
So a championship in season 4, obviously not a championship here tonight, but another championship appearance on behalf of Stonks Motorsports, who it looks like just continue to add on performance after performance in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Now you guys get to reset and handle season 5 in a couple of months, which looks to be slated for late November. So what are your thoughts about next season, and what is the mindset now going into there to get your second 4-Wide Racing Cup championship?
I'll pump for next season. I like the break. It kind of helps with school. Kind of reset everybody's minds, and this season was a little crazy for everybody. So everybody going in fresh. Maybe we can see some new faces in the Cup Series, hopefully. And I think next season, because everybody will understand the car better. The tracks will know how most tracks race and how we all race against each other. So I think it'll be a good season.
Well, hopefully it'll be a lot of fun, and we're definitely looking forward to see you there out on track with the 2 wins this season. It looks like the momentum only building up for the rest of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series history. AJ, before we let you go on this Championship 5 appearance and the 7th place ending here from Texas, anybody else you want to thank for tonight's run from Texas and the entire Season 4 campaign?
Yeah, shout out to Stonks. We did good this season. Shout out to everybody in the league. It was fun running. Y'all, shout out to you for broadcasting. Shout out to my parents, and shout out to Tyler for putting on the league.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, AJ. Of course, on behalf of our team here at MaxSpeedTV, I want to send you congratulations on the Championship 5 appearance in season number 4. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing the beef machine back on track. I better see some more creative concepts on the beef side. I want to see the diversity next season. It'll be a lot of fun. But AJ, on a serious note, of course, congratulations on the Championship 5 appearance. Definitely looking forward to see you next season in November.
Thank you.
That's AJ Green. We'll call him the Beef Man. Maybe we'll give him the nickname, or maybe I'm just too cringy for that. Nonetheless, we will turn our attention to the final driver in our Championship 5 lineup. That is, of course, Drinking Bros Racing's number 22. That is Eric Schaefer, who started tonight in PA. Eric, I know a tough race from start to finish. Tested a lot of drivers, including yourself. How was it to drive this car in traffic and moving your way through the field where a lot of things happen in a mainly green flag race?
Car is horrible, man. I wish we actually drove something that actually had some feeling to it, but it sucks in the dirty air like everybody else said. But all in all, it was a pretty fun race. I just didn't know we were gonna have people in here crying about racing teammates and everything. So I just didn't know that we weren't allowed to race everybody in the Championship 5. So.
And certainly, of course, you were part of that Drinking Bros Racing team after locking yourself into this Championship 5 at the virtual Darlington Raceway. That race, immense at the end of that one on the last lap. But, I mean, I know a lot of this racing happened in the middle of traffic. You at first had a really strong car. Was there anything that really changed in those green flag runs? I know we had a lot of them tonight that maybe suited to your strengths or maybe kind of played to your weaknesses a little bit behind the wheel.
Yeah, I'm typically good at long green flag runs and like the B car and stuff, but this A car, man, I can't figure out how to save tires as good as Lawson and Brandon and them. It's just they run it so much more than I do, and they just have figured it out and have so much of an advantage over me that they're always a lot better in a tight race car than I am. So I guess I just for the new season coming up, I just need to figure out and run a lot more A car stuff to figure out how to beat them more in this series.
Nonetheless, still a lot of momentum in this entire season. Of course, picking up your first win in the campaign at Pocono, which I remember we talked about it last week. You said it was the best race to drive with this next-gen car this season, and then just picking up more Indianapolis, Bristol, and then getting that win at the virtual Darlington Raceway. A lot of wins on this season, second to Lawson Peel in most wins of the entire campaign. What can you take away from what was a very successful season on behalf of the 22, and what momentum can you carry moving into season 5 in a couple of months?
Take a lot of momentum, man. I've had a lot of fun racing with these guys. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed racing this season with everybody, and it's definitely a momentum builder by winning a couple this year. It's for next season, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, it's certainly going to be a lot of fun seeing you back out on track. Hopefully with these next-gen cars, we'll see if anything changes from them. But, of course, Season 5 in a couple of months' time in November. Eric, though, before we let you go on this Championship 5 run to Texas Motor Speedway, anybody else you want to thank for tonight's run and, of course, the entire Season 4?
Yeah, Kenneth, big thank you to you for everything that you've done, for all the stats, all the video clips, every broadcast you've done has just been absolutely outstanding, man. So thank you for that. Thank you to Tyler and all the admins in 4 Wide. They have a good thing going with a lot of good group of guys in here, man. We all have a blast with each other. Like everybody else said, man, there's a little bit of beef every once in a while, but it's short lived and we all have a good time. But huge shout out to the DVR guys and Reaper Speed Labs and Paul Setup Shop. But all other than that, that's all I got, man.
Of course, Eric, on behalf of our team here at MaxSpeedTV, especially myself, I'd certainly appreciate the kind words. It's been an honor covering you and the rest of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series field out on track for now, I think, 3 seasons and counting, back since Season 2 in 2021. So it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully we get to see you back out on track for Season 5 for hopefully another season. Hopefully I get to be a part of it. But Eric, of course, on behalf of our team, again, congratulations on the run to the Championship 5 this season. I know a lot of momentum for Season 5, and of course, wishing you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
That's Eric Schaefer in the 22, 5th out of the Championship 5, but a Season 2 note. 4 wins on the calendar. His most recent, a couple of weeks back, in that stellar run to the start-finish line at the virtual Darlington Raceway. Well, back in early 2021, these guys at the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series gave me a chance after I first started working with MaxSpeedTV and joined with Rudy Cummings and all the great guys at that, Joshua Medlock, Ezekiel Reyes, all those guys at MaxSpeedTV. They took a chance on me after I agreed to broadcast their league at the start of Season 2 at Daytona, and who knew it would be coming this far up until the conclusion of Season 4 and what may be, of course, the start of Season 5 on beyond. I've had the chance to talk with a majority of the drivers in the field, including, of course, your champion Lawson Peel, all of the guys, and they have been outstanding. They've treated us as best as you could. They welcomed us with open arms. Myself, Francisco, covering the races for most of the season, and Tyler for all the hard work he's put into the campaign, while also just being an amazing person off the sim racing world. It has been an honor to not only get to know a lot of these guys in the season, but to cover every single race, to give you the storylines, to give you the stats, and of course to watch a championship unfold all at our very eyes here on the iRacing platform. So of course, on behalf of myself, Kenneth Bueno, I know that Francisco Bacchial would echo the same thing. Just want to thank not only you guys on MaxSpeedTV for watching and tuning in and chatting every single week, but for every single driver, everybody involved in this league, whether you're an admin, a race control, a driver, a team owner, whatever you have it, whoever you are in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series, I want to send a sincere thank you for all of the support and all of the moments, from photo finishes to green flag pit stops to big wrecks to whatever you have it. We've had it all here in the sim, and it has been an absolute blessing to cover this series from Season 2 on to Season 4, and hopefully on the tentative start date for Season 5, officially confirmed November 30th, barring any changes. So it's Lawson Peel who grabs win number 7 in 2022. and the most important win of his 4-wide Cup career. It's his first ever 4-wide Racing Cup Series championship after leading 88 laps to victory here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. So for everyone involved, on behalf of the 4-wide Racing Cup Series, for Tyler Murray, for everyone on the admin team and the race council, and from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, and of course for Francisco Bacalhau for joining us for a majority of the season, and for everyone involved, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from Fort Worth, Texas. Congratulations to Lawson Peel on his 2022 4-wide Racing Cup Series Championship. We'll see you to kick off Season 5 in November later on this year.